Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our City Council meeting. Today is Monday, June 21st, 2021. Before we have our Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask if you please rise for a brief moment of silence as we reflect back on the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces as they protect our interests around the globe, as well as the courageous men and women of the Las Cruces Police Department and the Las Cruces Fire Department as they keep our city safe 24/7, 365. Join me in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we're going to go to our of the week. Is Vanessa Chastain here? No, Vanessa. How about Clint Thacker? No, Clint either. Okay. Well, how about you, Mandy? You want to do it? Do the pet of the week? Do you have that info?
Sorry, Mayor, I don't have it.
Okay. Does anybody have the pet of the week info? Okay, well, I guess we'll go ahead and come to that. Maybe if they come on later, we'll do that. If not, we'll go to the jobs of the week. Darlene, or it looks like Cindy Quinlan is in. So, Cindy?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Mayor. I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong time of the day. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Mayor.
Yeah.
This is what we have for our jobs of the week. So first of all, we have a recreation services coordinator through the city of Las Cruces. This position will be closing on July the 5th of 2021. Next, we have a 911 communications trainee position through the Mesilla Valley Regional Dispatch Authority. Right now, they have 20 positions available, and these positions will close on September the 30th. They're also looking for a kitchen helper at Nellie's Cafe. This position closes on July the 30th, 2021. We're also needing a management accounts manager with Virgin Galactic Holdings. This position will close on July the 14th, and they are needing a warehouse clerk with Casa de Peregrinos. There are 10 positions available, and these positions will close on November 30th. Here shortly at 2 p.m., we have the Las Cruces Police Department is having a virtual recruitment event. So you can log on and register for this virtual event, and you can log on to employnewmexico.com. But for a full list of our job opportunities and internships, you can visit us also at employnm.com and also at governmentjobs.com/careers/Las Cruces. And for our local New Mexico Workforce Connections office, we can be located at 226 South Alameda Boulevard, and our phone number is 575-524-6250. Thank you, everyone, and have a great week.
Okay, thank you for that jobs update. And now we're going to go to the COVID-19 update by Assistant City Manager Eric Enriquez. Eric, are you there?
Yes, sir. Somewhere.
Okay. You've learned how to disguise yourself, I see.
Yeah, I think my screen, let's see how I turn that over.
You should get a bobblehead, and then that way there you can, oh, there you go.
There's the bobblehead, sir.
Okay. All right.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Eric Enriquez, Assistant City Manager with the COVID update for today. So on Friday, I think next slide, Mandy, if you're driving. Yeah, on Friday, Governor Grissom confirmed that New Mexico will retire its color-coded county-by-county system. So beginning July 1, all pandemic-related occupancy restrictions and forms for commercial activity will be lifted. Basically, we can operate at 100% maximum capacity. This will also include Mass gatherings, whether indoor or outdoor, can be at maximum capacity as well. Face coverings are still at the discretion of the organizations and businesses. Status report here locally, the Doña County, as of today, the current number is 59.8% that has been fully vaccinated. The state incentives really helped this past week. There was about 1,500 vaccinations that were issued at the convention center due to the $100 incentive that was issued by the governor. The FEMA team, as I mentioned last week, is in town now. They are working with the Las Cruces Public Schools. They've been at Oñate in different schools that they will continue to do isolated and single event vaccination clinics, Doña Ana Community College, as well as the farmers market and other events. At the farmers market, they're doing about 30 to 45, and they've had some radio spots there as well for advertising. They feel real good about all the walk-ins they're getting. Casa de Peregrinos will see a vaccination event take place there this week on Wednesday. To bring you up to date with the Santa Teresa Port of Entry,
Dear.
there was 400.
Hi, Serge. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, whoever that is.
I'm sorry. I'll continue. The Santa Teresa Port of Entry saw 452 vaccinations, and they are very interested in seeing how we can continue with those events and help out there at the Port of Entry. And OEM will be looking at that along with the Department of Health. But Title 42 is one of the challenges, but definitely looking and working with the state of Texas to see what we can do to help out. In addition, Columbus Fire Department will be having a vaccination clinic there at their port on Wednesday as well. And the asylum refugee, it remains the same, consistent and with the capacity of the Annunciation House in El Paso taking care of that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Well, good job, Las Cruces and Doña Ana County, for getting to pretty much 60%. So that's really good.
Yes, sir.
One more time, is anyone from the Animal Services Center here to do the Pet of the Week? No? Okay. Councilor Story, you had a quick comment?
Just a real quick question. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Eric, I was wondering if you had the number of people that have at least one dose, the percentage, I mean, of people with one dose of COVID-19 vax.
The percentage with one is 64.4% with one dose.
Oh, okay.
And sir, Councilor, sorry, I believe that was Friday's numbers. The one that I received, 59.8, was as of today. So I don't know what the current single dosage is, but we're definitely close to 65% there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Eric,
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. So the 59.8 was both dosage? Both shots?
Yes, sir, Mayor.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. I thought that was one. Okay, great. Fantastic.
Yeah, we're close to the top 10 in the counties of New Mexico as fully vaccinated. Los Alamos is at 80%. So we still got some work to do. We have the vaccine task force meeting on Wednesday, and we'll see how we can increase that.
Great, that's great. Okay, so now let's see here. We've got some presentations, some virtual presentations to make to these employees who've been with the city 15 years or more. And so I'm going to start with Laura Montoya. She's in the Utilities Department, and her job classification is Pollution Prevention Manager, 15 years. So Laura or Laura, are you with us today?
Nice.
Okay. Doesn't look like.
I'll see you videos. Adam.
Okay, and next we're going to go to Juan Ramirez. He's in the Fleet Department, Transit Maintenance Supervisor, 15 years. So Juan, are you with us this afternoon? No. Sylvia Carizal. She's in the Utilities Department, the Senior Receivable Representative, 25 years. And Sylvia, she's working at her office. Yeah, no, she's not with us. And Patrick Doyle, Police Department, Police Sergeant, 25 years. Sergeant, are you with us? Well, doesn't look like any of them are, but let me just tell you that we really appreciate City Council and I, your service to the city. We recognize that you all are the backbone of our organization, and we definitely couldn't do the things that we do without you all and being there to help us all along the way. And I know that comes from Ifo and Ikani and Eric and everyone involved, and Barbara and everyone involved with the organization. So thank you very much for your years of dedication. And for those of you that are 15 years, hopefully you stay on for another 10. For those of you that are 25 years, maybe stay on another 5. I don't know. But we appreciate it very much. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to go to, Councilor Bencomo is going to discuss, I don't know if you heard, well, during the, when we're doing the ARPA funds, I know she talked about the guaranteed basic income, but I don't believe the full council was actually seeing the presentation. And so I know that she was working with Mr. Ruiz, Sergio, on it, and they came up with a great presentation. So Councilor, you want to just share with us this concept?
Yes, Mayor, thank you for the invitation today. I don't have a PowerPoint. They're not my favorite thing, so I'm just going to talk at you all. And then, yes, but I do have something prepared. I didn't touch base with Sergio before today, but Sergio, if you're on, please jump on as you'd like. I got him to do plenty of research on this as well. So I'm just going to get started. And then, Mayor, hopefully at the end, this will be short. Hopefully at the end, you'll allow some room for questions if that's possible. So I just want to basically start with a definition. The Stanford Basic Income Lab defines basic income as a periodic cash allowance given to all citizens. That's what makes it a universal basic income, all citizens, without means test to provide them with a standard of living above the poverty line. A guaranteed basic income project, they've taken many different variations, but at its core, the fundamental parameters are that basic income projects are unconditional, they're individual, regular, and are direct cash payments. So universal is the goal, meaning that all residents living under the poverty line would receive this. A guaranteed basic income project would set a equation to allow a certain number of residents within that city to receive direct cash payments. I'll get to more details, but I want to provide some context first. I truly, truly believe that Las Cruces is a caring, compassionate, and welcoming community in values and in practice. Our city has received accolades for being one of the best cities to retire in, a best run city, a world humanitarian hero, an arts and cultural district, and honestly, so many other incredible accolades. However, there's a darker layer underneath all of that. These accolades are a reality that not all of our residents have the privilege to experience. The problem we're facing is that Las Cruces has a poverty rate of nearly 24%. New census data might show us a different picture, though the pandemic, I fear, and I'm certain that the income and equity gap only increased for so many people who were already vulnerable before the pandemic. The Distressed Communities Index shows a large part of the city of Las Cruces at risk or already in distress. The index also shows that in zip codes like 88001 and 88005, the situation is much more dire, with poverty rates as high as 36%. To me, these are not just numbers, though. These are families, these are children, seniors, our residents who are struggling on a day-to-day basis and whose quality of life are not reflected fully or fully represented in our values. I also believe that poverty is a policy choice. I'm going to repeat that. I believe that poverty is a policy choice. At the federal, state, and local levels, policymakers are making choices all the time that allow poverty to flourish. I also believe we can change that. Anti-poverty policy for far too long has relied on the dominant narrative that says poverty is an individual's responsibility. My entire life I've heard that people should simply make different life choices, that poor folks can't be trusted with public dollars, that if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, in America, you will make it. This narrative is not only harmful because it's completely false and offensive, it's harmful because it gets used to justify really bad policy. So what's the solution? And again, this isn't one solution, can be one of many. The National League of Cities says, I read once, the National League of Cities says that cities can be laboratories for change. That really stayed with me. And I think guaranteed basic income pilot projects are flourishing all over the United States as communities much like ours have begun to realize and face that we have not been doing enough to address poverty, and what we've been doing just simply isn't working. And we must think outside the box. The current approach to alleviating poverty is frankly patronizing and patriarchal. It dictates how, where, and on what terms people who are experiencing poverty can build their lives. Cash, on the other hand, offers dignity and self-determination and recognizes that people know their needs best, they know their families' needs best, and not government. They know their needs best. These guaranteed basic income projects are twofold. One, to find a new way to provide our residents who are struggling with poverty a way out of poverty. And two, to build a national narrative and platform that informs national and state policymakers that there is a different way to address poverty through policy. So the action that I'm proposing is that Las Cruces, right now, we have an opportunity to be a leader in New Mexico and in the Southwest by being one of the first cities to dedicate public funds, along with private dollars, private foundation dollars, towards this transformational project. A $2 million investment in a Las Cruces guaranteed basic income project could support, let's say, 250 Las Cruces families for $650 a month for 12 months, or some variation of that. Really, the equation, the who, how long, how much, that equation really gets to be set and developed by the organization that would be awarded this RFP. Their role essentially would be designing the project, identifying the target population, hiring or doing the research to analyze the data and outcomes. They would have to figure out how to protect participants' existing benefits, and really to administer the funds. The city would obviously play a supportive role as part of the stakeholder team, but really it would be that organization implementing the project. The demonstration project would include a research component for sure that would measure outcomes of the goals set by the stakeholder team, as well as the effects of cash assistance on families. And the research would specifically look at the effects of cash assistance on families regarding stigma, regarding health outcomes, both physical and mental health, a sense of dignity, and crime. The demonstration pilot project would also include a communications plan that would tell the story of Las Cruces and the importance of anti-poverty policies for our residents. It would tell the story of long-term effects of poverty on families and children. And it would also tell our city's role in reducing the income inequity gap. Funding for this portion of the project would mostly come from private foundation dollars, which would allow the dedicated ARPA funds to go directly to families. So I will just say that most projects in the past couple of years have been funded by foundations, but it's not until the pandemic with CARES and ARPA funds that cities have started to say, wait a minute, we also have a role to play in this. We could actually invest some of these funds towards these programs. I'll wrap it up with this. The Stockton Economic Empowerment Demonstration, or SEED, was one of the first. in the country to fully fund and implement this project. It just concluded its first round, and the data is so powerful. Their first round had 125 randomly selected residents from the most impoverished parts of the city. They were provided with $500 per month for 24 months. Originally, it was 18 months, I think, but because of the pandemic, they actually decided to prolong the amount of time. The research that has now come out, which I highly, highly recommend you all look at, the research has found that unconditional cash helped many participants find better full-time employment because it reduced and removed so many of the material barriers to finding full-time jobs. It created capacity for goal setting and risk taking once people's basic needs were met, like food and utilities, right? Once those needs were met, people were able to take bigger risks, save for the future, and get better employment. Many residents sought out preventative healthcare for the first time ever, as opposed to emergency healthcare, which we know reduces the burden on our communities. A lot of residents are showing less depression, less anxiety, and an overall increase in well-being. There's specific participant stories as part of the research project that are online on the Stockton, on the SEEDS website. I absolutely highly encourage you to see. One of the stories that I remember reading was this father who said, I was able to quit my third job and spend more time with my children. Like, those are just things that we might not ever think of, right? At this point, there are over 40 cities who've committed to guaranteed basic income projects, including Santa Fe. And I really believe Las Cruces should be on that list and leading the way. Mayor, that's as much as I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Councilor. Let's see if there's any questions from our colleagues. And again, we're going to have the work session on this as well. But I wanted you all to be able to at least have an opportunity to hear what this was about. Councilor Vasquez, Flores, and Abeta Stubi.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have any questions at this time, but I really like the concept that Councilor Bencomo has come up with. That's more than just UBI or universal basic income. It's really an entire game plan to roll this out, and I'm very supportive and appreciative of her presentation today. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Councilor Flores. Thank you, Councilor.
You're on mute, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Bencomo. I'm not entirely in support of the implementation. I think the concept is a very good one, but I would need to see more data. And this has been around at least, I think here in, not here, I don't know when Santa Fe's program started or where the funding is coming from. The first thing that came to my mind was the anti-donation clause. And irrespective of ARPA has designated monies already. There's guidelines and money has to be designated there. And then I read that there are private foundations that fund this. And I'm not sure that the city could partner in that. So that's my concern, the anti-donation clause. And there are other concerns.
Can I address some of that, Councilor?
No, I'm not done. I'm not done.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I addressed your first question.
No. These are not really questions. I think they're comments.
Oh.
Because we certainly, I think that the package was well prepared. I think that we were given all the information that was available, which isn't a lot. And there isn't any data older than maybe 2 years, and that would probably only, I think Stockton in 2019 was the first, and then there's been a couple, Newark, New Jersey, Stockton, California, Newark, New Jersey. And then, but at any rate, I really like the idea of helping people, but then it doesn't really show, and the reference that you made, Councilor Bencomo, you said that There was one family in Stockton, for example, who is one man was able to leave one job and hold down 2 jobs after I don't know how long. So the data we have here doesn't really show any positive outcomes, the outcomes we would like to have. So for everyone. And then also the selection process isn't everybody. So it's not really universal. And I think that it would be a pilot project. Well, that's the information I have here. So if you have other information that should be provided to us, and before we could even think about, I would have to need it. I'm not speaking for the rest of the city council or the mayor, but I would need more information. I just have more questions, and I think there are. It looks to me like a Band-Aid to our social problems, and it might help a little bit. And because COVID has come, things are worse than ever, without a doubt. We need a lot of changes in our economic system to assure that people live well. But I don't think really this necessarily instills self-determination. You know, Saul Alinsky's idea of self-determination isn't really fulfilled by this program. So I think that I would need a lot more information on this. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Bencomo.
Thanks. I would like to address some of those comments. Actually, Councilor Flores, there's significant amount of data. I just had limited time to present to you information. And so Alaska has been doing this for decades. Alaska uses the revenues of oil and gas, and they provide direct cash payments to every single one of their residents. For example, like the New Mexico Rainy Day Fund, they have that, but they provide direct cash payments to Alaskan residents. Martin Luther King Jr. talked about such programs way back when. So this isn't even something that's brand new. This has been around for such a long time because we know that the way that this country has addressed poverty has not worked. And frankly, I believe that things like SNAP and TANF, they're the Band-Aids, and they're not even fully funded to their fullest potential to help people actually pull people out of poverty. And the reason I say they were patronizing is because we've told poor folks what to do with their money. We have said, here's some money, but you can only spend it on this food. You can only spend it on such X thing, right? Even throughout the pandemic, thankfully, we saw a lot of incredibly charitable organizations provide people with food boxes, food insecurity. And I grew up Catholic. I grew up learning about Catholic social teaching my whole life, about the 2 feet of Catholic social teaching is justice and charity, and one cannot work without the other. And I think often we forget to ask, and actually Mayor Pro Tem asked it 2 weeks ago. She said, why are we not asking why there are so many people needing food assistance currently at any food shelter? And those are the kinds of questions that I think pilot projects like this address. I actually gently disagree with you that this is a Band-Aid. I actually think this is an incredible way forward in terms of how we actually address the root causes of poverty, and that is that people don't have enough money. It doesn't matter if people have 1 or 2 jobs. Poverty wages have been around in this country for decades. And so these pilot projects are producing incredible data. The Stockton has the most recent data because it was one of the fully funded programs. The Magnolia Mothers Trust program out of Mississippi found about 100 Black single mothers and provided them with $1,000 per month. In Mississippi, it was very hard to protect people's benefits. And so they increased the amount per month so that they would still see a net gain. These are just some of the pilot projects that have been in existence in the last couple of years. And like I said, I told you one story because it's the story that impacted me the most, but there are hundreds of stories that I highly encourage you to check out.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. If I may, Your Honor, Mayor Miyagishima, I think that in order for me personally, speaking for myself, for me to fully be behind this, I would need a economic analysis on this. I would need an economic analyst to look at this and look at how, and the thing, again, there isn't, what you presented to us doesn't have a lot of data. So and I don't know if there's a cause and effect that would work, and I'm not sure that even our city economists, Dr. Payares or Lyle Eager or Dr. Martinez, could take because of the data is pretty slim so far, and there'd also have to be an analysis on the anti-donation clause. So there would have to be that in-depth analysis, and without a doubt, a lot of problems in our economic system in this country where people are starving, and that's very true. I'm not sure that this is going to be the answer, and I still see it as a Band-Aid of, notwithstanding everything you've said, because there's no cause and effect. There's no correlation between this program and people standing on their feet. I would like to see those people and their children 50 years from now to see if it's working. I mean, that would be ideal. We'd probably not all be around in 50 years, but that's the sort of information. We need something that even 10 years to see how this would work. Am I saying that we don't need it? No, I'm not saying that. We need something. We need economic drivers more than anything. And I don't, I just don't see it as the remedy with the information we have. And thank you again, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councilor Bencomo.
Okay, so let's go to Councilor Beta-Stuvey and then Mayor Pro Tem Gunn.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor, for the presentation. A lot of my questions, I think, can be reserved for a work session, but a few things that I think that I'm going to be keeping in mind with is looking at the sustainability of these types of programs to see.
Good word.
And one of the items, I understand it's very helpful, especially when you have very tight budgets. Even relief for a month or two can make a difference. So I understand any point of time could be very beneficial to individuals. However, if we're looking at more of long-term goals, how can we do that? And then second, if we are thinking about using the ARPA funds, there's competing priorities, and most of the things that I think we've wanted to address are all within trying to help in the same scope. And so what makes this really the make or break out of some of the other projects that we could help assist and fund, whether if we were thinking of, affordable housing or something of this, how does this really make the ultimate difference, since it's a larger amount of money? And then if that makes more of a difference to do something like this rather than doing a fully funded project that could be once and done. And so that's why the sustainability aspect, I think, is something that I'll be looking at. And then out of curiosity, with the pilot project that has gone on in Santa Fe, have they already gone through an entire year yet of that or no? And so I really do think it would be beneficial to make sure that we have those protected benefits and have that laid out, because as soon as we haven't had a tax season go through for these individuals and we're not necessarily sure what's going to happen at the end. And so just making sure that's laid out for everyone and they're able to qualify after everything is said and done. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilor.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Bencomo, for your work on this. This is incredible. I'm so completely in support of this. This is not it's not the only answer. It's a piece of the puzzle and something that we really need to consider, especially those of us that live in the more distressed communities and zip codes. And you mentioned that in your presentation that 88001, 88005 are heavily distressed. I don't have to remind you, and I've said this before, my colleagues, is that 88001 experiences quite a bit of violence specific to child abuse and neglect. And so much of what I see as a social worker is this distress, this sort of stress about where my next meal is coming, how am I going to pay for housing, utilities, how am I going to pay for food, and or the clothes that my children need to go to school and to be completely clothed, appropriately clothed. And so this is a way, and one of the things that strikes me as a real positive is, as social workers, we're taught, as you know, Councilor Bencomo, about the strengths perspective, and really understanding people that they are the expert in their family situation. And so many times we want to say, be it government or others, right? What they should be doing with their money, how they should be behaving. It's very clear to me. So this is again one way of helping people get up and out of poverty, along with some of the other programming that I'm encouraging. EFO, I'm not sure that we've had a complete presentation on Opportunity Las Cruces and the other program that the city is embarking on with Economic Development Department to affect change around reducing poverty. And so I really am looking forward to your presentation and the data. I think it's there. I think it's something that we really need to consider as a piece, not the be all end all, but a piece to the entire puzzle, if you will. So thank you, Councilor Bencomo. I am in complete support, and I would encourage, as she's encouraged us, to look at these programs that have been doing it for some time. And so my question is, I probably should have asked first, is you mentioned these private foundations. Can you talk a little bit about what those private foundations are, and or are there programs, and how can the city of Las Cruces partake in that?
Thanks, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, absolutely. And even just to Councilor Bedestui's sustainability question, this is something that there are currently a community of people that are experts in this, that are experts in, that are economists, that are experts in poverty policy, looking at how this becomes something more permanent, because this is a way to actually pull people out of poverty. The Economic Security Project is one of the main leaders in this. I highly encourage you to do research with them as well, the Economic Security Project. And they've been the drivers behind an organization called Mayors for Guaranteed Basic Income. And Mayors for Guaranteed Basic Income is actually a very well-funded organization that can provide additional support to cities who are implementing guaranteed basic income pilot projects. I know that the Kellogg Foundation has been very interested in funding not direct cash payments, because foundations have also not quite caught up to this bold, imaginative thinking on poverty policy, but they are supportive of the research component. And there's a lot more organizations like that, like McCune. The National League of Cities actually has an entire guide for cities who are thinking about guaranteed basic income. So yeah, the data is there. And there is a lot of organizations, national organizations, who are behind this because they see it as very much a way out. And while it's for now a pilot project, there's absolutely no one under the impression that this is it, bam, right? This is a pilot demonstration that can really show us the impact it can have on 150, 200 families and what we can do beyond that. But yes, Mayor Pro Tem, there are plenty of organizations, foundation dollars, who are working to, in the past, who fully funded direct cash assistance, like the Magnolia Mothers Trust in Mississippi. But now, with cities saying, yes, we will commit public dollars, there are organizations saying we will support the research project piece of these demonstration projects.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. I'm hoping that we can encourage Mayor Miyagishima to be a part of this project, but looking forward to hearing from you at our work session, very specifically about data and, you know, the research and how it's affect all different people, not just parents, single mamas, but our elderly population. I really believe that this is an excellent opportunity for us. And if we can get, you know, these programs or signed on, however that mayor's project works, I would highly encourage us to do so. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
And just so I can add up, Santa Fe, Mayor Webb and Mayor Keller both signed on to that. The Santa Fe project was just announced last week. So it's brand new. It was just announced in collaboration with the city of Santa Fe and the Santa Fe Community College. They will be providing direct cash assistance for a year to single parents under 30 years old who are currently at Santa Fe Community College.
Okay, so before I get to Councilor Sorg, so the other part of the story, Mayor Pro Tem, is I did look into it. And one of the things that they wanted me to sign was that I was going to advocate to basically lobby Congress for federal tax dollars to do this. I can't do that. If some rich person wants to donate billions of dollars to help out, okay, great. But I don't believe, and I think it was addressed about sustainability, because if this goes through, and then how are we going to continue this? And then you're not going to have the money, and they expect me to try to get it from Congress. That's something that I can't support. So that was the reason. I don't think Councilor Bencomo would be willing to support a resolution that says absolutely no federal funds at all. If it's all private, sure. If someone wealthy wants to give away billions of dollars, I have no problem with that. But when you're talking taxpayer monies, okay, that's another story. I think personally, the money would be better spent if it just went to the foundation, like what we did during COVID, and that those people who really needed it, they showed how they needed it, and you could probably help a lot of more people than, you know, don't get me wrong, 120 people is a lot of people. But who are the 120 people? How are we going to pick them? After we're probably going to upset 98,000 or 103,000 people who wanted it. You know, I don't know. We'll need more when the work session comes.
Mayor, if I may address some of that, because I think this is a matter of philosophical differences. I absolutely believe that government at its best is investing in its most vulnerable residents. Congress spends unnecessary money on border walls, border militarization. Billions, if not trillions of dollars are invested in things that don't actually support people's well-being. I actually believe that the federal government has a responsibility to protect and provide a better quality of life for its most vulnerable citizens.
Well, I hear you. And you probably weren't aware that as a kid, I was recipient of reduced lunches, and my mom would make clothes to make ends meet. And that's why I wanted a job so bad, so I could buy regular clothes. But anyways, we won't go into that. Councilor Sword.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Bencomo, for presenting this. I do like the idea in principle and in general. I just have a couple, 3 questions to try to understand how this will work. I think you made a comment, correct me if I'm wrong, that all citizens in poverty should be getting this basic income. And if that's the case, how many citizens in Las Cruces fit in that 24% poverty level?
No, Councilor Sorg, I said that would be the North Star. Implementing a universal basic income policy is the North Star. That's the goal. That's many years away. And we'd have to get people like the mayor and Congress behind the idea that this is our responsibility. But right now, a guaranteed basic income pilot project would have a set number of people identified through a random process, most likely, through a lottery process, most likely, to identify those final 200 recipients, if you will.
So you're thinking 200 would be a good number?
No, Councilor Sorg, yes, I think a larger number would work. And the difference between the mayor and I is that I think if we spread this too thin, it's basically the federal government gave us, what was it, $1,200 checks, which frankly at some point was offensive. In December, they gave us $600 checks for people who had been out of work for almost a year. This is a prolonged, sustained project for those set number of people who could actually see an impact in their lives day to day. And the organization who would actually, the city wouldn't have to administer or implement the project. There would be a third party organization to do that. They would get to set the parameters of who, how long, how much, etc.
Well, that goes right into my next question. Are you aware of organizations wanting to submit a bid on an RFP like this?
Yes, Mayor, Councilor Sorg, there's been several organizations in the city who have showed a significant interest in doing a pilot project like this. In fact, I believe Community Action Agency is already doing something like this with a much smaller group of people.
Uh-huh. Okay. All right then. So Santa Fe requires the recipients of this income to be enrolled in the community college up there. Would that be something that we might be interested in doing here?
Maybe, but like I said, every single pilot project has looked incredibly different to fit the needs of every city. That's what Santa Fe decided to do. We could potentially decide to do something else.
Okay.
Or similar.
Okay. One other thing is that these programs that I've read about last for a year or two. What have you thought about what happens after the money runs out?
That's a great question. And I had that exact conversation with EFO. He was like, so what happens after? The point of a 12-month, year-long, 18-month-long pilot project is really to allow people to find solid footing. And the goal is for people after 1 year, 18 months, however long, is to become more self-reliant and gain more self-determination. And as you will see in the data, actually, it is showing that people absolutely did that, and that absolutely happened. But yes, you are placing trust in the individuals to say, this is going to allow me to take the reins of my life and find better footing. Those people would circle out, and I am very optimistic that because the first pilot project would go very well, that we would be able to, one, figure out a way to work with our legal teams in Albuquerque and Santa Fe to better understand how anti-donation doesn't actually impact this, because we are serving the most indigent in our community, right? Which the anti-donation already says, aside from ARPA. But I believe that things like the Telshore Fund, poverty is absolutely a public health crisis. And I actually do think that this ARPA money would give us time to figure out that the anti-donation legalities, which I've been in conversations with Jennifer about, and would allow us to find more investors. Potentially, we have people here locally, the spaceport, who would want to invest in projects like this because they saw the benefit of it.
Okay, very good. So when you were talking there, I thought of something else too. Darn. Well, I'll save it for when we talk about this the next time. Okay, how's that sound? Thank you.
Okay, good. All right. Well, you know what? I skipped accidentally. I apologize, Natalie. Councilor Flores, that was just your usual. You forgot to put your hand down, right? Okay, that's what I thought.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I forgot. Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. And yeah, we'll continue it when, I just wanted council and the public to at least hear your proposal. I apologize, Natalie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Flores kind of got me flustered and I missed it. And so.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Natalie Green for the record. Housing, in conjunction with the Public Information Office, is very proud to share this video on Desert Hope and the City of Las Cruces and our partnership with the Housing Authority and Mesilla Valley Community of this video was prepared because the partnership will be featured at the U.S. Interagency Council on Homelessness Region 6 meeting. The Interagency Council on Homelessness is made up of 19 federal different departments and bureaus, and they're responsible with coordinating a federal response to homelessness. Region 6 is made up of Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Texas. And this project will be the only New Mexico project featured at this meeting. So before I start the video, I just want to give a big thank you to all of the partners who have helped us on this project, specifically the Mesilla Valley Public Housing Authority, who is the owner and developer of this project. They also project-based vouchers for the residents that will be living at Desert Hope. And then Mesilla Valley Community of Hope, which is the lead supportive service provider for this project, the housing team, and then all the city staff and the council, city manager's office, community development, utilities, public works, everyone who's helped us with this project. So without further ado, I'll let Adrian start the video. Thank you.
An affordable housing partnership which began in 2017 between the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope, the Mesilla Valley Public Housing Authority, and the City of Las Cruces has resulted in the transformation of a rundown building into a picture of hope and home for people who experience chronic homelessness in the Las Cruces area. This project will take more than $6 million to bring to life, but its impact will be immeasurable. Partners accumulated along the way include New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority, Richmond Group, American Express, the New Mexico Office of Housing and Urban Development, Clearinghouse, and the New Mexico Coalition to End Homelessness. This construction site is a sign of hope for Las Cruces residents experiencing homelessness and the people who help get them off the streets. 1310 Pecos is now the address of Desert Hope.
It is a redevelopment project, so we took a dilapidated apartment complex. It was derelict and not visually appealing, and have created something new and looks awesome.
Each converted unit only has about 400 square feet of space, but they contain the basic appliances and amenities like refrigerator, stove, sinks, bathroom, and shower to help someone get back on their feet.
The plan for the Community of Hope is to work with 40 people who are currently living outside, sleeping in tents, wherever they may be without shelter.
Getting them off the streets is the first priority, but the aid continues well after they move in.
And we're going to provide them supportive services because we want them to be able to reintegrate into the society after a couple of years, and they become self-sufficient.
A community room on site will also house an office for caseworkers to address mental and physical health care, harm reduction, and income support. It will also have a food pantry to allow for food security, indoor and outdoor gathering space, and a laundry area so tenants can have a holistic housing experience.
The Mesilla Valley Public Housing Authority opened the waiting list. They had 106 applicants. So we know the need is there in Las Cruces, and we're excited to help them transition and then support them.
40 people can begin to change their lives later this summer and begin a positive change. Stakeholders hope this housing and support concept will encourage others to make more affordable housing available locally for those in need.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Good job.
Yeah, so I thought I saw Juan here. Juan, did you have any comments you wanted to make? Juan Olvera?
I just want to thank the city mayor and city council and all the city staff that has worked tremendously to make this project a reality, to serve the homeless community in the city of Las Cruces.
Okay, and that was Juan Olvera speaking. Thank you, Juan. We couldn't see you, but you had some pretty cool glasses on in your interview. That was pretty good.
Yeah, the sun was in my eyes.
Councilor Vasquez, did you have a question to ask Juan?
Mayor, I just also want to make sure to thank Ms. Nicole Martinez as well. And thank you, Mr. Olvera, for your partnership and all your work, as well as give thanks to the New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. Without all those folks, we couldn't have made this happen. But I know that this is a project Nicole is really, really proud of, as am I, for this to be in my district in an area that I think could use all the redevelopment that we can build into the Bellamont neighborhood. And this is just really transformational and hopefully really a model of what we can do perhaps with some of those older apartment buildings to expand this vision beyond Desert Hope and give more of those applicants an opportunity for dignified housing. So I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this, and I'm super excited, but wanted to make sure to also thank Ms. Nicole Martinez. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And yes, Nicole, thank you for that, your work on that, as well as Natalie. And I'm writing down some names because if I'm not mistaken, Juan, isn't this the one where we had to call on the lieutenant governor, the state treasurer, the state auditor, and there's one more. Brian.
Yeah, basically.
The attorney general. They voted because initially the local. Not local, but the board, the State Investment Council didn't want to do it. And then we got them to reconsider and then they passed it. Is this the one?
Yes, Mayor, this is the one.
I mean, these guys actually, they had sent their representatives, but when they realized just how important this was to Las Cruces, they came back. These Lieutenant Governor Morales, State Treasurer Eichenberg, State Auditor Colon, and Attorney General Victor Balderas. I mean, they came to vote themselves instead of the representatives, and they reversed the vote. So thanks to them. Okay, so Natalie, this was just an update on this? Was that what this presentation was?
That's correct. And all of this video will be shared across all our social media platforms. So we'll be able to share with the public at large, and then some of those representatives you mentioned, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and also, and I know this is totally off point, but the one that Carla Walton did for the COVID, can you send that to me or us as well? Because I don't have that actual PowerPoint. Once in a while, I get people who claim that the city hasn't done anything for COVID, and that PowerPoint was great. So if you don't mind sending that as well, please.
Will do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure I saw her name pop up, Laura Montoya, but I think she probably went back to work. Right? Yeah, I don't think she's here. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the conflict of interest statement. This is where I'll ask if any member of the city council, city manager, or member of the city staff has any known conflict of interest on any item on the agenda.
No.
Seeing none. And also public participation. I haven't received any. This morning I got it really early. I haven't checked it this morning. I mean, I did my emails, but if you sent it after 6 o'clock in the morning, I don't have it. Did you guys get any that you wanted to read? Okay, and closed meeting statement. So Councilor Vasquez, I have to ask you, you look like you're looking off into the, are you like watching a show or something? What are you doing?
No, I upgraded my my system here, so I got two screens on.
Oh, okay.
The laptop is just a little bit hard on my aging eyes, so I got another monitor where I'm looking. I'm still looking at you in your eyes.
I thought you were just being pensive or wandering, thinking. Okay. All right. So I've got this closed meeting statement to read. It's Las Cruces City Council met in closed session at 11:02 a.m. June 14, 2021. The following members were in attendance: Councilors Flores, Sorg, Bencomo, Beta Stuvi, Gandara, and myself, Ken Miyagishima. Staff present was City Manager Ifo Pili, Assistant City Manager Ikani Tamopeo, Assistant City Manager Eric Enriquez, Chief Administrative Officer Barbara De Leon, City Attorney Jennifer Vega Brown, Deputy City Attorney Robert Cabello, Outside Attorney David Maderos, Outside Attorney Jessica Farrell, Outside Attorney Jack Ross, Utilities Director Delilah Walsh. The meeting adjourned at 11:34 a.m. And for the record, Las Cruces City Council met in closed session, only discussed those items as stated. in the posted notice, which was to discuss pending litigation regarding the City of Las Cruces, ETAL versus United States of America, ETAL Civil number 17-809, JCH/GBW, which is closed pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 10-15-1H, number 7. Okay, so now we're going to go to acceptance of the agenda. Get a motion and a second.
So moved by Flores.
Second by Vasquez.
Motion made by Councilor Flores, second by Councilor Vasquez.
Mayor?
Oh, yes, Councilor.
Can we pull 7.7?
7.7. 7.7. Okay, it's been moved in second. We accept the agenda as presented, except listing for removing 7.7 for discussion. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve the agenda as presented with the removal of item 7.7 for discussion. Councilor Betastuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, so 7.7, Resolution 21-184. Motion is
Move to approve.
Second.
motion made by Councilor Stork, second by Councilor Vasquez. And Councilor, did you want a full presentation or did you just have a question on this?
No, I just have a question. It's simply this is at what are we planning for this piece of property? Oops, no, I'm not on the right resolution here. Darn it. Oh, I know. I'm having trouble with the PDF, not the PDF form, the HTML form here. I got to get on the PDF. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not the one I was interested in asking a question. Other than the fact that as long as we've got it here, just wonder what the city plans to do with this property.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council persons. My name is Kevin Wilson, for the record, with Neighborhood Services. At 1178 Wingate, we plan on replacing the roof, replacing all of the windows with energy efficient windows. All of her windows have failed in one way or another, and her stucco is in very, very poor condition. So we will be repairing her stucco and replacing all of that. Those are the major portions of the project that we will be taking care of.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor. I'm good.
Okay, if there's nothing further, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve resolution 21-184. Councilor Betastuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, so now we're going to go to item 8.1. Thank you, Kevin. Item 8.1, which is a public hearing. So it's 2:03 p.m. So the public hearing is now on. Is there anyone here who's opposed to approving a wine grower liquor license application to Pharmacia LLC, located at 1840 Avenida de Mesilla, Las Cruces, New Mexico 88005? Okay, seeing none, it's 2:04 p.m. The public hearing is now closed. So we'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 21-186. Need a motion second.
So moved. Flores.
Second, Betastuvi.
Motion made by Councilor Flores, second by Councilor Betastuvi. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve resolution 21-186. Councilor Betastuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo? Counselor Sorg,
Yes.
Counselor Flores,
Yes.
Counselor Gondara,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Okay. 8.2, Resolution 21-187. Need a motion second.
Move to approve.
Second, Bencomo.
A motion made by Councilor Vasquez, second by Councilor Bencomo. And looks like Natalie Green will be making the presentation.
Good afternoon again, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The resolution before you, Natalie Green for the record again. The resolution before you is the approval and affordable housing grant agreement with Tierra del Sol Housing Corporation. If approved, would approve an agreement up to $100,000. The agreement would be for infrastructure costs to support the Skylark Subdivision. This subdivision will include a park that meets the terms outlined by Council Resolution 21-097. That resolution did ask that city staff build a park within 1 year, within a mile of the Mesa Grande intersection. If this resolution is approved, it will rescind the original timeline, and that is just to better align with the subdivision process. The Skylark Subdivision, as you notice, will be located on the corner of Central Mesa, within 1/3 of a mile of the intended location. And then this is an initial conceptual plan. It won't look exactly like this. Part of this agreement will cover the engineering costs. So once we get to the engineering stage, we'll have a more firm concept plan. But this was just the initial concept plan that we were playing with. And I will stand for questions.
Any questions? Councilor Sorg?
Yes, of course. This is the Mesa Grande Park. Could you put the map up again in the area there, Natalie? I was thinking the other map, yeah. This map isn't quite big enough. I mean, it should show a bigger area. But it's okay to find out where this subdivision is. And along Central Road. The point is what I'm making is that this is a compromise that I was reluctant in giving, but I gave it away anyway. As it says, it's 1/3 of a mile from Mesa Grande. But even Mesa Grande is over 1/2 a mile from most of the people that would use this park. So we're talking about a lot of people that are going to be about a mile and even more than a mile away from this park. So it's not going to be as useful as I would hope to be. But for this neighborhood right here, it's going to be a blessing for them. There is a neighborhood alongside on the left-hand side, the west side of this map next to Mesa Grande. That'll use it quite a bit too. So yeah. So that's the way it's going to go. Now, I think my question is that what kind of timeline are we going to have on the Skylark subdivision so that we know when the park is going to be ready to be built?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sorg, that is an excellent question.
I always do ask those.
I am going to defer to community development, and there are a number of steps. We were generous in our timeline just to give the developer time, but I believe Mr. David Weir is on the line, and he can explain some of the processes that need to occur to approve this.
Hello, David.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. The slide that you have up talks about the steps that are necessary for a subdivision to be approved. And so as soon as the transfer of the property for the park, you can start moving forward with the park improvements. But the subdivision itself will have to go through our regular city approvals, which include a preliminary plat, which needs to be approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission. And then once that takes place, the next steps can be done administratively in-house, where they actually design the drainage and the extension of utilities and the construction of the roads. At that same time, they'll prepare the final plat, which identifies the individual lots for sale. And then once the construction takes place and substantial completion has been met, that all the city utilities that people can drive and the streets are complete, drainage is in place, the homes can actually be issued permits and start construction. So we're probably talking 6 to 9 months for all those approvals, and probably another 6 to 9 months for the actual construction of homes on the lots themselves. So I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have on the process.
Well,
That was David Ware. That was David Ware from Community Development.
Yes, David. Thank you, David. So that's the timeline for construction of homes. Can you give us an insight as to when the park, because the park is going to be for not just this subdivision, it's going to be for the whole area. When do you think the park could start being constructed?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sorg, Kathy Matthews and Sonia Delgado are both in the audience and they can address that question. But the plan is to have community engagement and park design while the subdivision is being designed, so that there's not an unnecessary delay. But let me ask Kathy Matthews to please respond.
Thank you, Natalie. Kathy Matthews, Parks and Recreation Landscape Architect, for the record. Yes, we anticipate that the design process and construction process would coincide with that of the entire subdivision. Prior to the start of design for the park, we would need the subdivision to be laid out and that engineering work to occur for the subdivision. So we know the exact outlines of the proposed property that the subdivision would be laid out on. As soon as that's completed and ready to go, we start with the design process, which I anticipate would take anywhere between 3 and 6 months, depending on the extent of community engagement that we desire to have in designing the project. And then again, about 6 months for construction. So when the subdivision is completely laid out and that engineering work is completed for laying out the streets and the boundaries of the subdivision, et cetera, then we can start design on the park and make that investment of time and money worthwhile when we have those parameters laid out. Does that help?
Oh, yes, of course, Catherine. That's definitely helps. Thank you so much, Kathy, that's for that information. So yeah, I'm getting a rough idea here. We'll see how things go. Maybe things could be sped up a little bit from time to time in the process. If we put a nice high priority on this park, as we have, the council has already done that by passing the resolution earlier this year. So thank you very much. Thank you all for our staff, Natalie, David, and Kathy. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm good now.
Okay, thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? Councilor Flores, you have your hand up?
Yes, yes, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, Natalie, David, and Kathy. My question is, it's hard to see in the little maps that are shown to us, but insofar as, say, the Mesa Grande residence, is it designed for walkability? Are people going to be able, say, in the Mesa Grande to go over to that Skylark Subdivision Park? I mean, is the area really is it walkable? And can people walk to the park? Because if it's a mile away, it's actually very healthful. A mile can be walked in 12 minutes, and that would be a good walk for people. So is there going to be really good sidewalks and bike lanes and nice roads and, you know, all the stuff we dream of?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, I believe many of those improvements already exist within the central road, and I'm just going to share a larger map.
And the other question I have, Natalie, and maybe it's more for David, I know that people have talked about a park being maybe not too far from them, but then the way the community was developed, the walls that go up, people have to go maybe 2 blocks to access the park, which would be closer if the whole area was designed differently. And I'm just wondering if that's being taken into account in these developments now, since hopefully there's been enough testing grounds in some of the developments in the East Mesa area.
Are you able to see the larger map?
Well, kind of, sort of, yeah.
Mayor, members of
binoculars on, my opera glasses, I'll be able to see. So I can see your pointer.
Property in question is here, and then again, Central has full sidewalks. And then here is the Mesa Grande corridor.
Oh, okay.
Of course, Public Works is available if you'd have more specific questions on right-of-ways.
No, I was just wondering if there'd be accessibility for the areas around there that didn't get parks and probably never will get parks. That's all. Yeah. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Mayor.
Sure. Okay, any other questions? All right, seeing none, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-187. Councilor Abeyta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, now we'll go to 8.3. Need a motion second.
So moved.
Second.
The motion made by Councilor Flores. Who made the second?
I did, Gandara.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. Okay, Natalie, I guess you're still on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Let me share the second presentation. Mr. Mayor, members of council, Natalie Green again for the record. The resolution before you is the approval of a land acquisition for 1101 West Amador. The property in question is the one that's labeled Brewer's Oil Parcel. It is approximately 4.827 acres, and I'll come back to the screen. Let me just cover the important items. It is at 1101 West Amador. It is owned by Brewer Oil. It is zoned M1. The purchase price is 1.1.
55.
Yeah, $55 million. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Staff did get 2 appraisals. One came back at $5.50, and the other one came back at $4. The city did recently purchase the property next door at $5 per square foot. Staff feels that the $5.50 is in line with the current market conditions. Again, the benefits and goals is that we have the ability to plan expansion around the existing campus. Potentially, we could add behavioral or mental health, additional permanent supportive housing like the Desert Hope or transitional housing, job training, other thriving services. It would allow for additional access to FYI and the Casa de Peregrinos facility and the campus. Currently, there's only one driveway. The property would be held within the Land Bank and Trust Fund for that future mixed-use development, and then the purchase of this parcel aligns with council strategic goals in their strategic plan and Elevate and the consolidated plan. So I will stand for questions. Land management and the seller's representative is available for questions.
And Natalie, we had a work session on this, right?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. The council did review this during a closed session.
And how many acres was this again? 4.82? Okay. What did it come out to? Was it $5? Was it $4? Was it $5.50 a square foot? Do you remember?
Mr. Mayor, the purchase price is $5.50 per square foot.
So it was $5.50. Okay, great. Okay, looks like we've got Councilors Flores, Bencomo, and Vasquez. So Councilor Flores. You're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was apologizing.
Oh, you apologize again.
Question.
Go ahead. Oh, did you mute yourself again? You muted yourself.
I'm sorry. I do not have a question. I'm sorry, I do not have a question. I'm sorry. I didn't take-
Okay. Councilor Bencomo then. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Councilor Vasquez. Yeah. Let's go with Councilor Bencomo and then Councilor Vasquez. I don't know what the heck happened here.
Wait, I'm sorry, who first?
You go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much, Natalie. This is incredibly exciting. I'm curious about two things. Have you spoken with some partner NGOs about this and just its potential?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, not yet. We didn't want to start planning until we knew that council was going to support the purchase.
That's very fair. The other question, I don't know much about Brewer Oil, but I'm just curious about any environmental concerns on this land.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, staff did have a phase one. There was one issue identified, but it has since been resolved by the seller. And then it has also been reviewed by an engineering firm that has cleared it to move forward for development.
Can you share what that concern was?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, there was a former landscaping company. They had some oil drums that were just located on the property, and they were just storing them as they transitioned off the parcel. And there was one that was tipped over, so it was just a matter of removing the oil drums, and then they took some cubic feet dirt and took that off the parcel. So again, that's been resolved, and I received that confirmation already.
Okay, and that was the only concern. I guess my only fear would be that we'll purchase this and then down the line we'll find out that there's some serious concerns under the ground, and then that responsibility will fall on the city.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bencomo, because we've completed a phase one and identified that as an issue, if there's any alternative or there's additional issues, the seller would be responsible.
Okay.
The other thing that we've also received is the New Mexico Environmental Department has offered us free phase two for both the Horse and Hound property and this property, and those will be completed as soon as the new fiscal year starts. But again, we don't anticipate any additional findings. And if we did, then we would have access to Brownsfield remediation funding that would cover any potential need. But staff did do a thorough review because we intend to use it for affordable housing. So when we do that, we have to do additional precautions. So I feel confident that council can move forward on this item.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That's really good to hear. And it looks like the mayor just found the emojis. So
Well, I give you a thumbs up for, you sounded like a true professional asking about that, so.
I am a true professional.
Well, I mean, remember we had that talk, it's gonna take about 2 years and yeah, you know what to ask now, so that's good. Very good. Any more questions? You're good? Okay. Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I was just going to ask Natalie about if this was an old gas station by any chance, or if it was just storage that was here.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Vasquez, based on the environmental, it's always been vacant land. So there was no storage or gas station.
Okay, great. Yes, that was a question just related to Councilor Bencomo's question around the brownfield site. Since most abandoned gas stations end up being de facto brownfield sites. So thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Councilor, Brewer Oil used to have probably have about 4 or 5 locations, not quite the size of Pickwick, but they would have like these little mini marts, and Brewer Oil was what they would. That was the owner. So I guess they're just kind of getting out of it. Councilor Sword.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for all the good questions that have been asked so far. I was wondering, Natalie, where are we getting the $1 million to buy this property? Where fund is it coming from?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Sorg, the funding is going to come out of the Telshore Facility Fund, and it'll be transferred into the Land Bank and Trust Fund, and the purchase will come from that fund.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. That's all I had.
I think that's it. And Natalie, so also next to it is the Casa de Peregrinos, correct? Property?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. This property was purchased last year sometime, and it will be the new Casa de Peregrinos facility.
Yeah, what's really great about this is not only are we able to acquire this, but it basically gives the city that entire block of land, and also for possible expansion if we need to for the Community of Hope and others. So this is really a great opportunity. So I'm glad it came along.
Mr. Mayor.
Hey, yes, Councilor.
Yeah, I just remembered. I was at the Community of Hope last week, and I was asking questions about this new land here and all, and the use of it. I think Casa is thinking about using some of that land in the Brewer oil parcel.
Casa. Oh, Casa. Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, I think this is what I was told. They need more space to have drive-through food delivery, and they just—
Oh, that Casa. I thought you meant Casa, like court-appointed special advocates. Okay, so Casa de Peregrinos.
Peregrinos, yes.
Oh, okay, all right.
Pardon my abbreviation. Okay.
Mayor, Councilor Sorg, you are correct in that the entire campus is in the middle of an infrastructure master plan. So when that is complete, there may be some additional recommendations from the consultant to add potential driveway space either close to Casa or further along this area, although that we'll have to meet with Public Works and Streets and a few others to get the best source for an additional driveway. Right now, the only driveway is here, and as you can see, it's very limited and does get congested.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's anything further. So, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-188. Councilor Beta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Did you call me?
Councilor Flores?
Oh.
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. All right, so now we go to 8.4, Resolution 21-189. Motion second, please.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Gandara?
Motion made by Councilor Vasquez and second by Councilor Sorg. And Andy Hume will be discussing.
Good afternoon. I think I got completely locked up.
Maybe, because you were kind of cutting out a little bit.
Yeah, let me, I apologize, Mr. Chair.
Oh, no problem. Things happen. It's got what? Let's see, what are we? 1, 2, 3, 4 more on our three more Mondays, I guess, and then we'll go in person on the 4th. Fourth Monday. 28th. 12th.
Okay, I think I'm back here.
Yeah, we got it.
All right. I apologize, Mr. Chair and members of council. This is Andy Hume, Airport Administrator, and this item before you is regarding some rate adjustments for Las Cruces International Airport. And just to provide a little bit of background.
Andy, did you want to do the full screen? You're still in the presentation mode.
Okay, cool. All right.
There you go.
Let me make sure that. Okay, I think we're cooking on all or running all cylinders here. So, as you may recall, we've brought this item to City Council a couple of times in the past. We completed an overall lease analysis along with the rates and fees analysis back in January, and back in March, the rates and fees for the airport were approved by City Council. However, when we got to the point of implementation, we found out that there were a few fees that were needed for clarity, and also some additional fees that needed to add a little bit more flexibility and variability to some of the categories. And so in looking at those fees, we did a little bit of additional analysis, and we completed that back in May of this year. And so what we found were just basically four main items. One is that we needed to differentiate the restaurant rate from the office space rate. The restaurant rate, as we found in our exploration, is typically less than office space rate. And so we needed to differentiate between those two. The second adjustment that we found was that the hangar and office space rates did not really account for all of the different characteristics that we have. So I certainly can go into more detail on this, Mr. Chair, if council would like. But given different characteristics that we have between the two city-owned hangars, as well as the two city-owned buildings with office space in them, we felt it was necessary to account for those differences. Also, we've had a couple of requests to support film production, which is really exciting for us. But when asked, we didn't have any rates. And typically airports do have rates for things like, if a film production wants to close a runway, or if additional staff time is needed to support the film production. So we did work with Film Las Cruces and did research on rates that would be reasonable for the airport to support film production. And then based on these three bullets in front of us, there were some other minor administrative updates that need to be made, and all of those were included in the exhibit that you have included in your packet. And so, Mr. Chair, before council are the typical options to vote yes, no, or amend or table. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll be more than happy to address any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. And this too, we had a work session on earlier in the year, correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we have Councilor Bate-Stuby.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andy. My question comes a little bit about, you had just mentioned actually about the film rights and the possibility of closing the airstrip to accommodate that type of need. My question is, in the documentation that you had, did you put in any exceptions? I know that we have Native Air, which is our medical flight that runs out through there. And so my question was if you had anything that had exemptions to be able to use the airstrip for that.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Bate-Stuby, excellent question. What we're looking at today are just the rates. What we would do is partner with Film Las Cruces. They're the sort of the point of contact for film productions, and in their application to use the airport, we would work with them on just such exceptions. So that's an excellent point. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And then I'm sure we'll have to do a rate exception in case that happens as well.
Mr. Chair, Councilor Bate-Stuby, we wouldn't necessarily factor in a rate for that. We would simply say that if this particular type of occurrence takes place, that the air ambulance has precedent over any film production. And so there wouldn't necessarily be a rate for that. It would be more like they would need to stop filming to allow for the air ambulance to come and go. So it wouldn't necessarily affect the rates they would be charged, but it would affect their production operations.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Andy. When was the last time these rates and fees were reviewed or put into place?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Flores, the last time we had a comprehensive rate and fee review and adjustment was back in 2003.
2003. So, well, good. I'm glad we're catching up. It's only been 18 years. Thank you so much, Andy.
Thank you.
Well, in all fairness, Councilor, back in those early years, we theoretically, literally couldn't give it away. But now as the city's growing and the airport's becoming more viable, we're having to look at that, and now they're wanting to, like supply and demand. There's starting to get more demand there. It's working out good. So thank you for your service on that board as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And that was a very strange compliment on my part to Andy, because once he stepped in, he saw that things hadn't been done in many, many years. Nothing had been revisited, and so it's time to do this. So it was really, I should have just said thank you, Andy, for doing this, and thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if there's nothing further. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 21-189. Councilor Beta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, 8.5, Council Bill number 21-043. Need a motion second, please.
So moved, Beta-Stuvey.
Second, Gandara.
A motion made by Councilor Beta-Stuvey and second by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara. Leanne Demouche will be presenting.
Well, good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Leanne Demouche, Interim Finance Director, for the record. Mayor, if you could indulge me, I would really appreciate if we could suspend the rules and allow me to present the presentation for the next two items. They actually go together, sir.
Sure, of course.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion to suspend the rules and discuss the next two resolutions
Second, Gandara.
together.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Mayor Pro Tem Gandara to suspend the rules and to discuss Council Bill Ordinance number 2976 and Ordinance number 2977, Council Bill 21-044 concurrently. Christine?
This is on the motion to suspend the rules to listen to Ordinance 2976 and 2977 concurrently. Councilor Beta-Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gandara?
Sorry, yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, Leanne, you're back.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, Council, can you see my presentation full screen?
No, not full screen, but we can see it.
Okay. I apologize, sir. Sometimes, let me stop sharing and share again. See if I can share the right one this time. Now, do you see full screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. Let me adjust. And I apologize. Sometimes when I share my screen, I can't see if anybody has their hands up, Mayor. Okay, before you, and I think, Council, you have heard a lot of discussion during the budget when we were doing the FY 2022 budget. You heard a lot of discussion that I gave you on House Bill 479. So just to give you a little bit of background, this is our current municipal GRT tax. Mostly what we're going to be talking about today is this first municipal tax, first GRT, which was effective back in 1980 on street improvements. It had a dedication of street improvements. And then over here, we had our municipal environmental GRT, which was in January of 1995, and we had a dedication of environmental services. And if you'll remember, both of these GRTs are automatically go into what we call the 2000s, which is our special revenue. And so back in 2019, House Bill 479 was approved by the state legislation. And what it did was, as I reported to you during the budget, it removed the GRT restrictions that were approved solely by a council ordinance, which these two particular ordinances were. So what we did was the reporting for this started in March, this past few months, on our RP 500 that we get from the state. And what the House Bill 479 did was it unrestricted any of the GRT. So no longer can we restrict that this GRT go to street improvements or the environmental. It also unrestricted the hold harmless as well. However, the hold harmless is already going into a general fund. It goes into 1,500. So we really saw no... We really didn't felt that we needed to bring an ordinance to you on the hold harmless because it already is going into a general fund. It does, the only one that will remain, or the only two that will ordinances that will remain restricted on the GRT is for police and fire. Those were adopted in July of 2002. And the reason was because these ordinances actually went out for public vote.
So Leanne, on that last screen, is that the July 2002 ordinance? I thought it was voted on in November of 2001. Is the July 2002 when the city council passed the ordinance, maybe?
If you'll remember, Mayor and Council, if you'll remember the way that the state works, even though we actually approved that ordinance in November, it doesn't actually have an effective date, sir, until either January or July. Remember that sort of happened even with our hold harmless. We had to wait an additional 6 months. So, so typically you'll notice that on the effective dates, I should say effective date, I apologize. It was approved by the public, but it had an effective date of July of 2002, sir.
Yeah, I knew that. I was just checking to see if you knew that. So, okay, good.
Yes, sir. I am still learning, but yes, sir. We did take this to the Finance Select Committee. We took it back in April. Yourself, Mayor, Councilor Flores, and Council Bencomo are on the Finance Select Committee. We took this in April. We actually gave you 3 options because, as you'll remember, Council, the state always trumps. It trumps us. So really, we didn't have to do anything. That was one of our options. The other option was that we could take an ordinance that unrestricted the GRT and to formalize the GRT, or we could just take an ordinance dedicating these funds to be restricted. Now, we could restrict them. However, the state will not recognize that restriction. And so what the Finance Select Committee gave us direction to was to do number 2, where we bring an ordinance to you that we unrestrict the GRT, and that is what is in this ordinance, and that every year we budget those funds internally to street improvements and also for environmental services. And that is what we actually did for fiscal year 2022. And with that, these are your council options. And if you have any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
So, Leanne, in a nutshell, what we did is, even though the state wants us to unrestrict them, we did do that, but we still set it aside in a different fund. So technically it meets the spirit of what the state wants. And if worst case scenario, if we needed to take from it, we could, but for the most part, that was what was pledged. I mean, or that's what it was set aside.
Mayor, that's in a nutshell, you hit it right on the button. We actually, we can use these funds for anything, sir. But moving forward, we've been advised by the council, at the Finance Select Committee, and also when we adopted the budget, to put those funds towards street improvements and also for the environmental. But at any time, if the council approves and they want to move those funds towards anything else, they have the option to do that, sir. I will tell you, the state recommended that we bring this ordinances to you. It's pretty much just taking care of some best practices business. It also aligns us with the state as well. And so that's pretty much what we're doing, is bringing this to you so that way we are aligning with the House bill.
Okay. Councilor Flores, did you have your hand up accidentally, or did you have a question?
I accidentally, sorry.
That's right. Councilor Sorg?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Leanne, for presenting to us. First question I have is, what's the difference between these two ordinances that we're discussing right now?
Mayor, Councilor Sorg, one ordinance is for the street improvements dedication, which is let me see if I can go back to, sir. Oops, I went too far. Sorry about that. Right here. So one of these is for the first municipal GRT, which is the ordinance that's effective date of January of 1980. And then the other one is for the environmental services, which was January of 1995. Those are two different ordinances, sir. And so we have to take them as separate ordinances.
Okay, just a little more work to do, that's all.
Yes, it is, sir.
So I would imagine now going forward, because we don't have this dedicated funding for street improvements, that'll be a subject of budget.
Every year.
Yeah, you're going to have to decide how many dollars to put in street improvements because, yeah. Okay, just saying that out loud. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, and thank you, Luann.
So Mayor and Councilor Sorg, I also wanted to point out to you that we are still keeping a record of the difference of these two ordinances. So that way we know exactly how much money would have come in for that municipal GRT. So we are keeping a record of it, sir.
Good.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying, Leanne, is so like for street improvements, we are setting aside the 0.25% monies. Yeah.
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, so you've covered both ordinances 2976 and 2977?
Yes, sir, I sure did.
Okay, so if there's nothing further, there was on around 8.5, there was a motion by Councilor Beta-Stuvi and a second by Councilor Sorg. So Christine?
This is on the motion to approve ordinance 2976. Councilor Beta-Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Grandada?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes. Okay, we need a motion and a second for Council Bill 21-044, ordinance number 2977.
Move to approve.
Second, Beta-Stuvi.
Motion made by Councilor Sorg, second by Councilor Beta-Stuvi. No further questions? No questions? Christine?
This is on the motion to approve ordinance 2977. Councilor Beta-Stuvi?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Counselor Flores,
Yes.
Counselor Gandara,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes. Okay, now we go to board appointments, which I don't believe we have any. And move forward to notice of proposed ordinances. There'll be no discussion, no public discussion. Council may ask staff for clarification on the proposed ordinance. That's 10.1, Council Bill number 21-045, ordinance number 2978.
Bring it forward.
Now we go to City Council member board reports and comment. Start with myself. I don't really have any, but I just want to tell you that the reason why if you've noticed, our council meetings have been moving quicker is because, you guys have, especially the new ones, have grasped the issues and it's moving quick. And so I'll make a plea to all of you to run for re-election again so that we continue to do this. But I think you guys decided, some of you, to move on, but because we're going to have to start the process again. But it does take a couple years, so I'm really proud of Councilors Bencomo and Beta-Stuvie. So you guys are, I'm impressed. So that's good. I don't have anything other than to compliment you all. So Mayor Pro Tem. I will be gone on the 26th, and Mayor Pro Tem is going to be running that work session on July 26th. Mayor Pro Tem, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. The Resilience Leaders will be doing a book club on the Anna A. Jate, which is the data-driven prevention of childhood trauma and maltreatment, Tuesday at 2:00 and Wednesday at 6 p.m. It is a really innovative way of reading the book and posing questions that are important to our community about trauma and how if the trauma is undetected and untreated, what it does to a community. And one of the things that I want to remind us is that, and I feel very, very strongly about this, is this universal income that Councilor Bencomo is pleading with us to do is one of those things, one of those innovative, very important things, strategies, if you will, to fight poverty. I do want to say that, honestly, I was about 23 and had my son. I was a single mom. I had applied for benefits, first time ever. And it was a really hard place to be, an embarrassing place to be, where you have to basically divulge very private information to someone that you don't know. And then this group or these people tell you how to use the money. And honestly, if I didn't have the support that I've had, I'd probably be in a very different place. I believe that this is a strategy to help individuals come out of poverty. And again, it's not easy. It's not easy to pay for your housing, pay for food, and that was. And let me remind you that I had 3.5 years of college, and I could have very easily fallen, into this system. And so I'm pleading with you to do the research, to understand it, and really to understand what happens, when we don't address these needs. We have a real opportunity, I feel, here in our community to provide this basic income to folks. And I think in many ways, it's an opportunity. It's not like these people are going to be getting the funding for years and years and years. This is about helping people up and out and getting, a different position. Maybe it's the answer to what so many of us have done already, like our mano y mano program where there are people who are working at trying to not become homeless, who are near homeless, that this opportunity is a way to get some income to pay for, you know, first month's rent or those things. So it's again, I think it's a genuine and heartfelt opportunity that we have. The other thing I appreciate hearing from IFO this morning, a very, very sad and violent situation happening in Apalaca, at the Apalaca Park this morning with the murder of somebody. It's really a very terrible situation. I've been talking to IFO throughout the day. He's been great about providing me updates and such. And, you know, my heart goes out to everybody involved.
Mayor Pro Tem, I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but can I just get the chief just to say, I don't know if a lot of the information has been disclosed publicly, and I don't know if they want that.
It has been, Mayor. It's all over the news.
Is it? Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure. Chief, can I just, okay, so.
The reason I bring it up is because I would like, this is another thing that we are having to deal with, right? Is not addressing the needs of people in a timely fashion. We're a part of this system. This system is broken, and we need to be very innovative about how we deal with things. And so, Mayor, I've talked to IFO. We'd like to put some activity together that engages my constituency here, very specific in the area. We've been working on safety and different meetings and such with law enforcement. I just want the community to know that I'm hearing you. I want to provide some safety net. There are resources that are available. There's crises lines, you know, that one, if they're facing a crisis, can call in. And I'd like for the city PIO office to make sure that that information gets out. We've been mentioning programs like Community Action Agency, Families and Youth Incorporated. These are agencies that Community of Hope that we provided funding, right, to help folks who are in dire need. And so I felt like I needed to say something today to say that I'm hearing the public. We need to do something or continue to do, right, helping law enforcement out because they can't do the work alone. And I'm pleading with my colleagues and the non-governmental organizations to help, and there's so many that want to help in that way. So we're looking at, you know, an activity that brings people together, that shows that we care, that we have resources to help people, especially those that are in mental health crises, Mayor. So thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilor Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was just wondering, I first would like to raise the issue of an ordinance. We spoke about the respective duties of the city manager and the city council pursuant to the city charter, and I really haven't seen anything. So I would like to make this request to the city manager, the city attorney, and for an ordinance, because I believe when we address the Article 3 regarding the city manager's duties, or and Article 4, the administration, I believe Jennifer Vega Brown indicated that we did not have those ordinances. So, so the sections specifically that I'm addressing right now are section 3.02, subsection A. That's lowercase a in parenthesis. And then the other is Article 4, Section 4.02, specifically subsection lowercase b in parenthesis, and then the subsections under subsection B are 1 through 7 inclusive, to have ordinances consistent with those two sections. And we should get those probably done as soon as possible, as time permits. I have announcements about the airport.
Excuse me, Councilor, can you expand on what it, I'm sorry to didn't hear the first part. What is it that you wanted from the city manager and city attorney?
No, not the city attorney.
Oh.
We've spoken about our respective duties pursuant to the city charter. And Jennifer Vega Brown, our city attorney, indicated that we did not have an ordinance that's regarding the personnel system.
Oh, you're still, okay, on the personnel. Well, okay, so we do have okay, I got you. We do actually do that. We do have that. When they say we're responsible for it, I mean, it's usually just through an ordinance, and then of course you delegate that to the city manager, and then he does it through his staff. But looks like Jennifer jumped on, and so I'll let her, okay, well, I'll let her. Yeah.
I think she knows what I'm saying.
All right, now I know what you're talking about.
Mayor and Council, this is Jennifer Vega Brown, your city attorney. I believe what Councilor Flores is referring to are the detailed personnel rules. There is clear description of the city manager's role and responsibilities. I think what she's referring to is the personnel rules, and that those would be passed by resolution. We currently have them passed by city manager policy, and that will need to be transitioned to a resolution.
Well, actually, Attorney Vega Brown, the personnel system, subsection B, sections 1 through 7 inclusive, the city charter directs that it shall maintain by ordinance, the personnel system. So it's an ordinance, not a resolution. And I think that's what you said previously, Jennifer, that we didn't have it, but we haven't revisited this at all.
Correct. Mr. Mayor and Councilor Flores, we do have personnel ordinances. They need to be further detailed in order to be in compliance with right now. Currently, we have city manager policies. There are ordinances that are personnel ordinances. So we just need to adjust those.
Yeah, I think, well, I'd like to see those, and then I would like to see that, I would like to see all that covered so that we know exactly what our parameters are and our function. Thank you.
So Councilor Flores, may I ask what specifically you feel that the city council has the authority to do when it comes to personnel? Or
it's not what I feel.
Okay, what is your interpretation of the charter?
I feel, well, I have to see a therapist for that, but since you're not a licensed therapist. No, it's just that we.
How do you know that?
How do I know? What do I know?
Go ahead.
Well, what I'm addressing, Mr. Mayor and fellow colleagues, councilors, is that the personnel rules, the charter is our constitution. It's the constitution of our cities, such as the New Mexico Constitution is the constitution for legislators, and the U.S. Constitution for U.S. senators and House of Representatives and Congress, of course. I mean, that's Congress. What our personnel system, we need to really have this in the ordinance as directed by, and if we have it, I haven't seen it. And if we have it, then we should all get copies of it. But specifically, the personnel system in Article 4, Section 4.02, subsection B, the personnel rules state, quote, "The council shall maintain by ordinance a personnel system which shall include at a minimum reasonable provisions establishing, 1, the classification of all city positions based on the duties, authority, and responsibility of each position with adequate provision for reclassification of any position whenever warranted by changed circumstances. Section B2, a pay and benefit plan for all city positions. Section B3, methods for determining the competency and fitness of individuals for purposes of hiring, promotion, retention, demotion, and termination. Section B4, policies and procedure regulating reduction in force and removal of employees. Section B5, procedures for the hearing and disposition of grievances. Section B6, equal employment opportunities. Section B7, other practices and procedures necessary to the administration of the city personnel system. That is a charge we have. We are charged by the charter to do that. And I don't think we've ever really looked at that closely. And maybe I shouldn't say I don't think we've looked at it closely. I know personally I haven't looked at it closely. I don't know if city councilors who have been here before I arrived to really sit and look at what we're charged with. Because this is, this goes to the policy making that goes to making all of our resolutions and, going to all of our ordinances, and that's what we're charged with. And I think that we should be fully aware if we, of that.
But Councilor, with all due respect, we do have a personnel system that does all this. That's the part I don't quite understand. Are you somehow thinking that the people who put the charter together saying that we ourselves, the city council, has to have our own ordinance, our very own amongst ourselves?
It says it right here. I'm not saying I'm not thinking anything of that box. I'm saying I want to see the ordinance which is consistent with the charter.
Okay, so therein lies your concern. So yes. If I may, Councilor, and again, I say this with all due respect, this is the same commission charter commission who also put in there that city council shall not interfere with the city manager's duty to run the city on day-to-day operations. What I'm trying to say is we do have this ordinance, but when they say the council shall maintain by ordinance, it doesn't mean our own personal one. When it's just like, I mean, we do have this ordinance. We do have all this that you're talking about. And but anyways, I see what you're saying. I'll let Jennifer and Ifo and get with you and try to explain it. I see what you're trying to say, and I'm telling you, we do have this, but this does not pertain to us seven. It pertains to the whole organization.
Your Honor, I know that. What I'm trying to get you to understand is that we are an integral part of the personnel system as directed by our charter. And I'm not sure that we're doing that. And yes, it's not day-to-day chingaderas, pardon my French. It's not, this, that, and the other meddling into personnel issues. I'm talking about an overall system of personnel. For example, policies and procedures regulating reduction, that's not right. A pay and benefit plan for all city positions. Some of us are asking for police officers to be paid more and that sort of stuff. And ACOs are needed right now, especially with the, we'll be implementing the TNR resolution into an ordinance soon, and we're lacking in that regard.
Okay, so it probably happened right before you came on board, you and Councilor Vasquez, but every so often, maybe 4 or 5 years, staff will go out and go to the region, both in Arizona, all of our New Mexico, other neighboring cities our size, and come back with the average salaries of different organizations are similar size, and then they give us a median, a low, and a high, and council decides, okay, how much we're gonna do, because we have to set that budget aside. But we do that, and then we also have to approve by ordinance the different benefits that are provided to the city employees and such. So, but
I guess it hasn't happened since I've been on city.
yeah,
council.
it hasn't. It's probably due for one. It's, I'm sure that staff's probably looking to do that. But like I said, it's not done all the time, but, but we try to stay competitive, because obviously if we're not competitive, then we'll lose them to the county, or we'll lose them to the university, or Alamogordo, or some other city. So I see what you're saying, but they do this once or twice every decade, based on population and based on different factors. So.
Well, I'm just bringing this to I know that we haven't done anything since we last addressed it. I'm bringing that up.
Okay, well, I appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. So
I'll give you a thumbs up.
Yeah, I need that. Airport. The airport, there's an organization, some of our board members, advisory board members belong to it. It's called Wings and Wheels Fest. And it'll be on September 25 at the airport. And there's a commitment from Virgin Galactic, Blue Origins to participate. There'll be hot air balloon rides. Donations are being requested to defray costs. I don't have the name. I do have a name, Tanya Privet, who is Dan Privet's wife. Anyway, I just wanted to let all of you know that it's a very exciting affair, a very activity, and I encourage our city, especially our city employees and city councilors and mayor, to make it out there on September 25. As far as Andy Hume's manager's report, you may remember that I reported a few years ago that was it 3 years ago? Yeah, that the FAA does inspections of the airport, but it was all in writing. This year, they're coming out to look at the airport. It's an in-person check, and it's to see if it's still complying with the FAA regulations, part 139, so that we can keep our certification. And then Andy's looking at the FAA regulations and the city ordinances in connection with the airport to make sure that there's compliance all around. And the person who coming out will be Jenny Siddons from Fort Worth, who's with the FAA. And that'll be from June 23 to June 24. And Andy has further reported that LED lighting is almost done. The solar upgrades are going well and generating its own technology and sustainability. I'm not sure I reported that correctly, but it is sustainable and it's coming along. Dan Privet also reported that there's a lot of dust out at the airport. And the reason I'm reporting it to you all is because we do get, we by the way, should thank Bill Soules, Senator Soules, for all the work he did and he has gotten us millions upon millions of dollars over the years for the airport. And but there's still a lot of dust. And there was, anyway, there was so much dust about a week or two ago, and Dan Privet took pictures, and the helicopters couldn't see each other, and then you're just thankful that there wasn't a horrible accident out there. Anyway, and so I don't know, maybe we'll be getting more funding from the FAA, or maybe get more money from the state. Okay, so the other board I'd like to report on, also a liaison as I am to the Airport Advisory Board, is the City Art Board. It didn't meet last week or for this month. It was canceled. But last Friday, Councilor Joanna Bencomo and I had the privilege of attending the selection of the artists, the process and presentation by 3 artists who have been selected from the call for artists to have the art done at Fire Station number 3. And Chief Jason Smith was also there. And the two art pieces, the two artists that did show up, the other one did it virtual, but very impressive artists, very beautiful work. And I'm glad I'm not on that selection committee because it'd be a hard call for me. But the fire station is going to have a beautiful art piece out there. It's just going to be, whatever they select is going to be wonderful. The Economic Development PRC met, and we had the agency spotlight per usual as one of our items. And spotlighted was Las Cruces Creatives, and Leah Sergey presented. I'm missing it. She has two surnames, so I'm sorry about that, Leah. Oh, Leah Weiss-Sergey. And it was really interesting. They do a lot of skills and training, and I recommend that everybody on our council, if you haven't been to Cruces, everybody in our city government and our city population should go to, as soon as everything opens up, to Cruces Creatives, and it's really amazing. You feel as if you're in a mini Meow Wolf. And there's a lot of skills and training and education going on, and it brings in the entire community. And they've also been doing community share, which brings in Las Cruces community schools. They've engaged with 450 students from 7 schools, and sometimes they go to the schools. And they also work with Haslo, and they also work on sustainable farming, and which is now suffering because of the heat we've had and just the different things, probably climate change. She didn't say climate change specifically, but it's certainly, I'm sure, a factor. So what she said, what Leah said, which was really interesting, is that they dedicate their money in many ways. The one way they provide it is by the one way they dedicate it is by providing meals, because sharing meals with people creates creativity, and I thought that was a wonderful thing to hear. The other agency spotlight was on Film Las Cruces, and Jonathan Sepp, formerly by the last name of Foley, but now Sepp, reported, presented, and he went through, he showed all the metrics, showed it on a slide, and it was all beautiful. And he said that in spite of COVID, that Film Las Cruces managed to keep good numbers, and $5.5 million was brought in direct spending, and that includes hotels and all that sort of stuff, and our local businesses that do well when we film here. He explained that the soundstage, the old Coke building, is no longer the sound stage for Film Las Cruces because the owner sold the building and the person who bought it didn't want to rent it. Then he went into how Film Las Cruces works with DACC to get students. They get credit, and they also get union hours, and because that industry is top heavy in union work. We also learned from Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, who's also on the PRC, EDPRC, as is Gil Sorg, that Albuquerque's having a Thrive 21 summit. And so Debbie said she would look into it, and then she would get back to us to see, she'll get information from attendees to see what it was all about, whether it's something that's beneficial for us perhaps to do here in Las Cruces. I had something else, but I think that's it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Councilor.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry. I have one more thing. In this morning's newspaper, there was an article about, it was front page. It was about broadband and how it's the lack of broadband has affected, not affected, but is a factor in, will be a factor, probably a detrimental factor in finding out whether the state schools, the PED actually, the Public Education Department, has been complying with the Yazzie-Martinez decision that came down 3 years ago. The lawsuit started in 2014. The decision came out in 2018. The Supreme Court of New Mexico retained jurisdiction to oversee the implementation of its order. And so far, not so good. And so the PED decided that they would conduct a survey to see whether schools, children are being served and whether the goals and the mandate in the Yazzie-Martinez decision has been complied with. But the observation that was made, that was written up in today's newspaper, is that the schools that the children who are most affected are the Native American communities, and there's no broadband. And the person who was interviewed, whose name escapes me, indicated that if it was an affluent or a middle class population of students being affected this way, everybody would be hearing about it. But people don't even know about it because they don't have Wi-Fi, they don't have broadband. So I did ask Sergio Ruiz, our political analyst, to do some research on that, because I'd like to propose a resolution urging the state to somehow release funds to assure that broadband is available for our children, especially our children in need, or our communities in need, I should say. And we know very well too that we don't have any broadband in Mesquite or many parts of the state of New Mexico. So anyway, I think it's outrageous, but that's it for now, Mr. Mayor.
Mayor, I had a couple of questions to ask Councilor Flores.
Sure, please.
Councilor Flores, thank you for your update, very extensive today. Could you, on the airport event in September, is the city a sponsor?
Well, the city, that's a very good question. I don't know, Mayor Pro Tem. We own the airport, and that's why we're so involved with it. But we probably should be a sponsor. I don't know how that works, but we should probably, maybe if Andy's still on the line, he can address that, or the powers that be. I don't know, how that works.
Yeah, I would agree, Councilor Flores. I think it's a very important opportunity to support this great event. And when it happened 2 years ago, it was very widely, it was a hugely attended. I think it gives people an opportunity, right, to see what's happening in the airport, but especially young children, young kids, are fascinated by the airplanes and the touring and whatnot. So I would definitely recommend that the city put forth significant funding to help with this event. I just think it will be bigger and better every year, and I would love to see the city sponsor. And then lastly, based on your broadband commentary, Councilor Flores, there is a group in our IT, Scott, it does participate in that. There's an IT group that's looking very specifically, or I shouldn't say IT, but a broadband group looking very specific to broadband gaps and barriers here in our county, which will then feed into a larger system. And so I want you to be aware that that's happening. Scott did did mention that and talked briefly at our last meeting last week related to that. I think it's a huge issue, and Engage and Success Partnership through Lori Martinez is spearheading a lot of that information and will spearheading this cause, and is very interested. And in fact, they have just been doing some DPS mapping related to what is available, what's not, all across our county. And you will see that like Hatch Valley is in dire need, right? Certain pockets in the southern part of the state as well. So I'm happy to share that information with you, Councilor Flores, since you have a real passion and concern about it. And I would recommend that you reach out to Lori Martinez. She could give you quite a bit of information related to this group and what they're doing, very actionable items, right? And how they're going to address the need moving forward with the new creation of the IT department at the state level.
Yeah, I'll talk to Lori to see.
I believe Andy had his hand up.
Oh, there's Andy. Hello.
I don't see it, but Andy Hume, you have a comment or a question?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Councilor Flores, thank you very much for the opportunity just to speak for a minute. The airport is strongly supporting the event. As Councilor Flores noted, of course, it is on city property, but we are also providing staff support and also some of the necessary amenities to host such a large crowd on airport property. The city is looking forward, specifically the airport is looking forward to have a larger role as this event grows. So thank you, Mr. Chair and Councilor Flores.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah.
Anything else?
For me, Mr. Mayor, no, thank you. And thank you, Andy.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mayor Pro.
Councilor Sorg?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm okay. No comments today.
Okay. Councilor Bencomo?
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks to my colleagues as well for their comments. I just had a couple things, but given Mayor Pro Tem's always willingness to be vulnerable, I think I'll just share one more thing. I personally care so deeply about addressing poverty. The reason I became a social worker, a community organizer, ran for office is because, frankly, of my own experience with poverty. And I know the long-term effects that living in poverty can have for a child and for a family. I mean, my family literally left an entire country because we were living in poverty. And so those things to me are deeply serious. And I feel that, again, like I said before, government at its best is taking care of the people who are most vulnerable. And, you know, the reality is that wages have been stagnant in this country for over 40 years. The poverty rate has not moved in this country. If down, it's gone up. And so my question is, what else are we doing? What else are we doing to systemically address the increasing poverty rates in our community? 36% to me is shameful. And we should want to eradicate poverty at whatever cost possible, because those long-term effects are hard and will remain with people for a long time. And so my question is, what else? What else are we doing then? And is it enough? And if the answer is yes, then I want to hear about it, right? Because I do not believe that what we are doing is enough, even though I believe this council is very committed to that. I still don't think it's enough. And so to me, I would rather try something than nothing at all. And that is what a guaranteed basic income pilot project will do. That could be more than just this one time. And so, yes, I really want to urge you all to do your research and come prepared with all the hard questions to the work session. I will make sure Sergio answers them all. Just kidding, Sergio. I will answer all the questions as well. but I just want us to really consider what else are we doing. And even though a pilot project may seem small in scope, because we think about those 36% of people living in poverty in Las Cruces, it's more than 200 people, right? But it is really bold. I just want to note that. It is very bold to do this kind of pilot project. Even though it may seem small, it is a huge step forward. And I deeply believe in this. And I will continue to advocate for it. I will continue to work with Jennifer and the state to figure out anti-donation and how this state really has fallen short when addressing the needs of people in poverty. On another note from Mayor Pro Tem, actually, I also agree that, frankly, I feel like groups like Las Cruces Community Watch on social media are very harmful. I think that their misinformation spreads very quickly, and the city absolutely needs to play a bigger role in addressing, being public about issues like today's very tragic news early and head on. And even if we don't have the information, we don't have to. We can say we don't have to. This is ongoing. But we cannot allow those kind of social media groups to take charge. I mean, a couple weeks ago with the issue at the mall, the news was that there was an active shooter. That wasn't even remotely close to what was happening. And so I just want to make sure that we are responsible in the way that we are addressing some of these issues that are happening in our community, even if we can't share the information or don't even have enough information. So I just wanted to agree with that. The last couple things I wanted to say, very much thank you to the Las Cruces City Art Board for allowing me to sit at the presentation of the 3 finalists for the mural that will be up in Firehouse 3. If you guys haven't driven by that valley, it looks like a real building. We were just there shoveling dirt, and now there's walls. And it's really incredible. It's moving along really quickly. I'm really excited about there being this beautiful mural piece of art, regardless of which the City Art Board chooses, which I do not envy them. That is an incredibly difficult job. But all 3 options were incredible, and I'm very excited. And I just wanted to thank them and Fire Chief Smith for allowing me to sit in. I'm really excited. Tomorrow, Councilor Vasquez and I will be at Jardín de los Niños presenting at their, I want to get this right, let me read it, at their Flourishing Families Parent Mentoring Program. And so we'll be there sharing a little bit about our experience and our stories and how we got here, but also turning it into a bit of a listening session with, again, some of the most vulnerable members of our community, people who are seeking assistance at Jardín de los Niños, which, by the way, is an organization very interested in guaranteed for basic income, because they understand that one emergency could land you in an incredibly different situation. And
where is this?
It's a Jardín de los Niños, Councilor. It's virtual still, but I'm just really excited to present with Councilor Vasquez, and that they invited us to be part of that program that's incredibly effective and powerful. So just a huge shout out to Jardín for all they do. And then lastly, I recently read the news release, the press release from Mr. Danny Trujillo around the pedestrian that was critically injured last week on Picacho and Melendres, which, Melendres is a community I've been working with to address some of the issues around traffic safety and pedestrian safety. And then for this to be the news, this is news too often in Las Cruces, pedestrians being injured. And so, and I think hopefully Councilor Vasquez, the chair of the MPO, will address this, but I know there is an issue with the MPO and the MOU, and I just want to make sure that we as a city and with the MPO are keenly aware and really thinking about how we address pedestrian and bicycle safety, because we do not have great rates. And I would love for the BPAC to come present to the council at a work session. I feel like I've asked for that before, but I just want to make sure that we are addressing these issues, because I would certainly like to see a lot less pedestrians being critically injured or even succumbing to their injuries. So thank you, Mayor. That is it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Bencomo. Mayor had to leave and I'm taking over the meeting. So thank you for your thoughts. I agree that I want to say that staff was looking at some strategies and put so that we can come back kind of armored with, you know, some additional things that we do for road diets, speed limits, maybe that's the red light cameras, reinstating those. And so just asking Ifo in his presentation to give us an update on that, if he would. Next up is Councilor Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you to my colleagues for their updates as well. Just want to bring up that our last meeting of the El Paseo and South Solano Ad Hoc Committee, which, as you may remember, was made up of 3 city councilors and various members of the committee that we appointed from the university, from local businesses, from the schools, and other community stakeholders and partners. Wraps up next. Our last meeting is next month, during which we will finalize a report and summarize our findings from, 7 months of discussion about the strategies that we can take to revitalize the El Paseo and South Solano districts. And so I want to thank staff and all of our community partners for providing their input into these recommendations. I'm excited, one, because I think we're going to have some actionable items to really help drive the revitalization efforts as part of this project, but also because I think we can get some of these done before I hop off the council. So looking at the timeline, we will vote on the report at our meeting in July, and we should have some of the policy recommendations going to the policy review committees in August and September, depending which jurisdiction the policy may lie in for the PRCs. And then from there, I would expect that they would go to a work session for the city council. And I would just request that work session happen in October, whether it's best to package these set of policy recommendations into one work session or a couple of different work sessions. I just want to make sure we give each policy recommendation or other administrative recommendations their due diligence, so that we can get these vetted and before. So the biggest piece I think that will come out of this is a recommendation to enact the metropolitan redevelopment area, which would allow the city council to offer a whole bunch of different things like zoning variances and incentives. Both residential, commercial, infill redevelopment, a whole suite of tools that we will have available to really revitalize El Paseo and not let those dominoes completely fall in terms of the empty storefronts and some of the lack of retail and business activity in this really core sector of our city. So I'm thinking that in November, we should be able to vote on either one or a series of policy recommendations for the El Paseo South Solano redevelopment. It won't be the comprehensive redevelopment project that we're envisioning. It'll just be the start. I'm imagining it as just the start to give that area of our city the boost in the arm that it really needs. And so I'm super excited for that. And I want to thank Councilors Bencomo and Abate Stuvey for being such a huge part of how we're going to do this moving forward. So thank you. Other quick thing here I want to bring up is around Young Pond. As you know, we've been having some issues with the aerators, and staff did a great job of bringing some temporary solutions to the pond to help get the oxygen flowing, to make sure that the fish that are still in there have a chance to be caught by a small kid or a family or one of our residents, right? Because that's part of the fun and part of the purpose of the pond is to make sure that we're giving these experiences to some of our communities in the surrounding neighborhoods, but also really across the city. But as you all know, there's been consistent issues with the pond for many years. And I was just looking at the Trees Lake that they opened in Deming, which is considerably larger than Young Pond. And Young Pond is really our largest body of water that we have left, that is at least municipally owned, that is free for kids, that is actually in an inner city neighborhood, that gives residents access to this special feature. Yes, water is very hard to come by in the desert, and that's what makes it more special and more precious. And Trees Lake in Deming is a natural built pond. It doesn't have the concrete liner on it that we have at Young Pond. When our pond was built, perhaps there were different considerations and different design standards. But I personally feel that the way that the pond is configured today is probably not apt and not fit for both the climate condition we can expect with some very high temperatures in the summer, but also because we consistently have issues with oxygenating the pond. And so I also would like to have a work session sometime this year, hopefully in the near future, to perhaps look at some different options of how we could rebuild the pond in a way that allows for the proper oxygenation, for the proper sizing of the pond, and so that we can keep this treasure that we still have left. Y'all know we lost Burn Lake in Las Cruces and operating for families, because I think we deserve it, their families deserve it. And so I would like for council to at least start looking at some different options for rebuilding the pond. I don't think we want to be outdone by Deming. Nothing against Deming. I love Deming, but it would just be a shame that we would be depriving our residents, or many more residents here, of that same experience. So I want to put that plug in. I want to thank Officer Johnny Rivera. He is part of the community outreach unit, and the Las Cruces Police Department put out a press release just a few days ago detailing what some of Officer Rivera's work has meant to the community in my district, and in particular the opening of a dilapidated basketball court that was being used as storage out at the Buena Vida apartments on La Fonda. Officer Rivera took it upon himself to contact the property owner and partner with some local organizations and secure funding to essentially re-outfit the entire basketball court, reopen it to the residents. Many residents, I don't know how many hundreds of residents live there, but it's a big apartment complex with tons of kids. And so the basketball court is now open. I got a chance to go and visit with members of the community, visit with the kids that were playing basketball 2 Saturdays ago, and see the wonderful work that our community outreach unit did for members of that community and really all the surrounding neighborhoods. And so I just want to thank them. I think that's the heart and spirit of community outreach and community policing. It was really well received. The basketball coach from Centennial was out there and I think he gave a basketball away to most of the kids that were there. And the Community of Hope also was in attendance, providing free food to folks. And it was just a wonderful display of what community outreach can look like, I think, when it's done right and when we invest in it. And so they're having an event at the Buena Vida every Saturday over the next month, and I plan to be at the 4th of July cookout or picnic the following week as well. So I just want to give props where props are due to Officer Rivera and others who also helped, as well as Chief Dominguez for really championing this type of activity. Lastly, I do want to bring up again the preparation for cannabis legalization. It is coming. I think the city of Albuquerque just passed essentially their municipal guidance, a set of ordinances or resolutions or a combination of two regarding essentially where cannabis retail locations and other related activities could take place, or related businesses could take place in accordance with what they're envisioning for their city. And I think we are a little bit behind. Well, I don't want to say that because I don't know what the staff exactly is working on, other than the last work session that we had, I think, on this. But I do want to make sure that we are ready I heard from a couple of real estate professionals in the commercial real estate business that investors are looking to they are looking to invest, and so they're looking at buildings all over the city right now to figure out, where to locate some of these new businesses and where some of these new jobs will be created. And I think we need to get on the ball on that because I think we need to give that sector the certainty of where they're able to locate, where they're able to operate, what type of things we have control over that we will allow or disallow, or, in particular, the zoning. This is going to be really important. And so I've said this before, but I don't want Sunland Park to eat our lunch, because we have a huge economic opportunity here. One of the biggest, I think, that we've had in a long time collectively as a city, that is not just reliant on one major employer. It is reliant on the creation of potentially hundreds of small businesses. And so that means thousands of new jobs. And so I want to make sure we seize on that. And I just urge us to please continue this discussion, to bring this back to a work session in terms of the zoning piece of this as soon as possible, and think about other economic development strategies that we want to implement in addition to just being the regulators of this industry locally to the degree that we can be. I think we should be partners in this opportunity to create jobs in our community. With that, I think that those are all my comments. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilor Vasquez. I concur on the cannabis legislation and ordinances. We need to get a move on. I know there's some work being done, kind of connected Connie to a couple of, or at least one person. So thank you for that. And kudos to Las Cruces Police Department. I saw the pictures, and I bet that community was just so excited, and it's awesome to see community police officers at their finest doing what they do best, right? So thank you. Councilor Betas-Duvi.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you to my fellow councilors. I have a few updates. We'll start with our Community Schools Board. We met last week. We do have a new community school, which is Alameda Elementary. So very excited. And we are, the community schools are taking applications for the 2021 school year for new community schools. So if there is one that's interested, I would say please feel free to get with Amanda so that they can get an application. Our Quality of Life Board will be meeting this week. We are going to have an update with our 4th of July. We are going to get an update on the Go Bond process and looking what steps need to be implemented and what the staff has been doing now. I know that is an issue that I believe Councilor Bencomo brought up during one of our work sessions. I believe some questions around that process. And we're also going to get an update from the Keep Las Cruces Beautiful. Littering has been brought up, I think, not only in our council meetings, but from emails, I know for myself and others too. And so looking at addressing those needs, seeing what types of issues they're combating. Obviously, there's so much litter right now. I think with the approval of the Mano a Mano program, getting that up and running to full force is going to be helpful. But there's other, looking at other ways we can address that. We're also going to have our health PRC in about, I think it's a week and a half now. We will be getting an update about our mobile health crisis units. And so I'm really interested to make sure that we can get those up and running and connected with all the right support systems that we have. I did attend last week with Mayor and Councilor Flores the 50th Academy commencement of the Las Cruces Police Department. I do want to congratulate, I'll say the names of our graduating class. It's Antonio Chavez III, Alexis Gomez, Richard Rivera, which was our valedictorian, Kavar Rodriguez, Guadalupe Salinas, Selena Tarin, Nathaniel Tejas, and Brandon Villarreal. So congratulations and thank you all for your service to our community. And I know that we didn't have an update from the Animal Services Center, but I do know that they have a lot of large dogs that they do need to have either fostered or adopted. There's plenty of them, and there's kittens. So this one is taken care of, but there are plenty more kittens just like this at the Animal Service Center or with agencies, other rescue agencies that are partnering to take the stress off of our Animal Service Center. So thank you to them. But there's still a lot, and please spay and neuter your animals. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. That is all I have.
Thank you so much, Councilor Abeyta-Stupian. Special thanks and actually congratulations to all our new police officers. I know it's been a huge lift, especially during COVID. So good luck and Godspeed. Ifo.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I just have a few items and I'll just go through real quick from various departments. But first, I just wanted to respond to a couple of requests here. Mayor Pro Tem, you asked about our pedestrian and bike safety report, that's planned for next work session, June 28th. That'll be coming. I know you mentioned a little bit about the red light cameras. I know we've had some issues in the past that we'll probably talk about. Just talking to staff. I mean, there are some issues. I mean, you saw a write-off that we brought to council, multi-million-dollar write-off that we brought to council with the program that was done not too long ago. So, like I said, we'll have the discussion there, but we'll have that work session presentation next work session. That's again June 28th. And then the other item was a request for the noise ordinance to be brought back. That's planned for July 26th. So we have that on the schedule now. Let's see. And then I'll just go down the list from the various departments, council. So from quality of life, just letting everybody know about the City Hall lobby art piece installed June 12th to the 18th, and PIO will be working on a time-lapse video for official unveiling in July. Also, the library is now open. It's regular summer hours, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Friday, Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sundays are closed unless we are activating a cooling station. July 6th, opening 3 senior sites for in-person dining and activities at the Munson, Benavides, and East Side. However, grab-and-go meals will continue at Frank O'Brien Pavement Center and Sage Cafe. From Parks and Rec, another reminder about the July 3rd Electric Light Parade. Special thank you to councilors for volunteering, Mayor Pro Tem and Councilor Abeyta-Stupian, as well as Councilor Bencomo for judging that parade. Still a call for more entries. I think the last number is approximately 20, and it's a 9 p.m. start at Apodaca Park. And then for the 4th of July festivities, the concert lineup includes 6 p.m. Lee Rocker of the Stray Cats, 8 p.m. Gin Blossoms, and then 9:45 will be the firework display. And then from Visit Las Cruces, the city is honoring Make Music Day today by featuring orange exterior lighting at City Hall on the Visit Las Cruces building. Tonight, the downtown plaza will activate this evening at 6 to 10 p.m. Showcase of local bands will perform. Nicole Osborne, Dallas David Ochoa, Cosmic Unknown Band, Papayas con Chile, and then headlining the show will be local favorite Unleashed.
Yeah, you did so well.
Yeah.
You're fitting right in.
That was like pretty perfect, actually.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all I have, and I know you mentioned a lot of the, with the graduates from our police academy. Congratulations to them. And I know you've seen a lot of recruitment from articles to, we've made changes on the website. So that'll be continuing as we push for more recruits. And I think I'm missing something, but I can't think what it is. So,
Cannabis.
oh, yes. Connie, I'll turn the time over to Connie to give a report on where our task force is.
Thank you, IFO, Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, and City Council, Ikani Tamopiao, Assistant City Manager. It's a pleasure to be here before you today, just as a discussion item to keep you apprised on where we are with cannabis. Although it appears that we're entering the race late, I'll tell you, we have a fabulous staff, no surprise to you all. We've convened several internal staff meetings, and we're getting ready to present to you in a work session. Right now, we've been on for a few weeks now. All the work sessions are tight, but July 26th is as soon as we can get to you. And we're coming in hot. So Councilor Vasquez and Mayor Pro Tem Gandara, I hope you're ready because it's going to be a great discussion. We plan to hit P&Z before then in a work session or as a discussion. Our goal is to have an ordinance draft application all, if it's your will, by September, by early September, all that presented to you. So backing up, we've convened meetings with legal, community development, building, planning, economic development, finance, fire, PD. We've all been in several meetings together and actually met with planning today. They've talked with several of the internal cities. Right now, just looking at what the other cities are doing, we already have our sights set on what we were going to do, but it's always good to touch base and connect with others. But I just wanted to give you a time frame that the finish line is early September, and hopefully you'll come with us. If you have any questions or any comments along the way, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tamopiao. Did I say it correctly? I think I'm trying. Yes, okay, very good. I appreciate that. Just one recommendation, would like it if that would go to one of the policy review committees. I think it's helpful when counselors have a bit of an idea moving forward, and just want to remind folks to, we have those for a reason, and that's for council to be able to work with staff, and so just encouraging that whichever one that might be.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Did I get your last name? I'm
yes,
practicing. All right. Good.
Very great on speaking.
Good. Very good. Thank you. Okay, I believe, is that all?
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I also just want to say that it's raining really hard in my house, and there's not been a drop of rain for months here. So this is really good. ACM Tommy Powell, I'm wondering, was there an update on the state's task force on cannabis? I know that we had discussed that your name had been put up to be part of that. Is there any update on that?
No update yet, Councilor Bencomo. But once we hear, we'll definitely keep you and the council apprised.
Okay, so then I'm curious about and I agree with Councilor Vasquez about doing this quickly, and I think we have great expertise at the city to move forward with a good pathway for cannabis, but are we getting too far ahead of ourselves before this task force formalizes any recommendations?
Yeah, great question. So the task force that's being set up right now by Trujillo is looking at different aspects than the application process that we're trying to follow. So I would say House Bill 2 that was just released has about 90% of everything that we need.
Okay.
In the state right now, the reason why we're aiming for early September is because micro business and cultivation and production is being accepted by the state. Whether they like it or not, that's what they put in House Bill 2. And we would like to run concurrently, that if they're applying with the state, we would like to open obviously our offices as well for micro business and cultivation as well. And so that's why we set a goal for us to be ready by early September so we can start taking those applications.
Awesome. I have to say, I feel really lucky to have you on our team. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I think if I could get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second, Abeta Stuvey.
Moved by Councilor Flores, second by Councilor Abeta Stuvey. Christine, will you please call the roll?
This is on the motion to adjourn the regular meeting. Councilor Abeta Stuvey?
Yes.
Councilor Vasquez?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
Councilor Sorg?
Yes.
Councilor Flores?
Yes.
Councilor Gondara?
Yes.
And the mayor is absent.
Yes, I'll vote yes.
Oh, he's here.
Good. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you so much, everybody. It's raining in my place now, too. Have a good one.
It's raining
Oh,
here.
send the rain all over. I don't